Afghanistan, this country in the Middle East that was invaded by the Russians in the 70s, and they're known for their opium production, and they're just not the best place to be. I was there in March of 2011 when Arab Spring had just ended. It was kind of in conjunction with the beginning of the Syrian civil war. I remember hearing about that and thinking to myself, like, I really hope we don't end up in another mostly crappy country in the Middle East, even though Syria was much more developed than Afghanistan, but I still did not want to be there. And lo and behold, the next year, 2012, I ended up on what's called the 2-4 MU, the Marine Expeditionary Unit. The thing is when I was on that MU, my job was a contracting officer. My job was to go ahead of troops, civilians, operators, or whatever, and write contracts for stuff. So I'm writing contracts for rental vehicles, for wells, for porta johns, for goods, services, whatever. And I oftentimes did that by myself. I usually did it out of uniform. Sometimes I had to grow a beard, grow a little afro, make myself look like an African, because I was in countries alone all the time. Bahrain, Jordan, Crete, which is an island off the coast of Greece, Spain, Morocco, Eritrea, Djibouti, all these places I would go to oftentimes by myself, writing contracts. Well, one place I was at was Amman, Jordan. And in Amman, Jordan, I traveled back and forth from Amman, Jordan to Aqaba to the King Jordan Air Base by myself in a rented Cadillac Escalade. Let's just say I was riding in style, but I got pulled over by the Jordanian police all the time. I had to pay bribe money. Sometimes I would show them my official passport. That wouldn't be enough. And the way you bribe a Jordanian as officials, you keep money in different pockets. You keep Jordanian dinar or JD in different pockets. So if they pull you out and pat you down and they discover a JD, you can give them that and say you don't have anything else. Or you keep some in your socks, you keep some in your underwear. I remember once being detained by the Jordanian police, taken to the police station, all because of my rental car, and waiting for one of my captains to come pick me up. I got a call on my cell phone from my major saying to drop what you're doing, get your ass back to the Iwo Jima. That's the ship that I was at. The Iwo Jima itself was docked, and I had to get there as quickly as possible because Syria from March of 2011 was beginning to erupt, and they feared that it was going to spill over into other countries. Specifically, I mean, I'm in Jordan, which is near Syria nonetheless, into neighboring countries. It reminds me of what's going on right now in the Middle East, because the U.S. is to pull some personnel from the Middle East amid rising tensions with Iran. It just makes me think, like, what do we have going on over there specifically that even has us ready to make those type of decisions? I bring this all back to the concept of SHTF, because for some people asked in the last video, what the hell does SHTF stand for? Good question. It does stand for shit hits the fan. That could come from a number of events, stuff that's going on in the world, stuff that you can or cannot control. You can't control rising tensions in the Middle East. And what could that mean here? So a lot of things is that SHTF basically means a breakdown of normal societal functions. It can go into stuff like without rule of law. It could also be stuff like natural disasters, economic collapse, protests like are supposed to be happening here soon, civil unrest, etc. In regards to the U.S. pulling some personnel out of the Middle East among rising tensions, it could mean this in regards to SHTF. First off, a reduced deterrence. If we're pulling people out, the deterrence factor means a reduction of personnel, U.S. personnel, even if they're non-essential, could be perceived by Iran or their proxies as weakness. I don't know if that's going to be the end result, but it could be perceived that way. The capabilities in the regions are reduced if we're removing people, even if they're non-essentials, from embassies, bases, facilities, etc. There could also be a power vacuum. If the U.S. presence in a specific area goes away, it diminishes significantly. Whatever may happen, other regional actors or state actors could go up into that vacuum and suck up all the small things that small country needs. Imagine you're a small country, you're a small region, and you need shit. And the US is the one providing the shit. They're providing services to your roads. They're digging wells 200 meters into the ground so you have fresh drinking water. They're helping you subsidize your goats, et cetera, et cetera. We pull out non-essential personnel. There's a vacuum there. Even if they're not filling it in with weaponry, but if another country like Iran is going in there and now giving you your roads, giving you your wells, wouldn't you think your teenage boys or men would be more prone to fight for you? I would think so. Escalation risk. The U.S. withdrawal, and I think it has to do with the stalled nuclear negotiations. I think Israel's starting to think about doing some strikes, and these are just reports. I don't know how accurate these may or may not be. It could escalate extremely quick. So imagine the escalation to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon by Israel striking some of their sites. And that can become a kinetic war very, very quickly. Do we get drug into this fight? Does your loved ones have to go over there and fight this good fight? I'm not really sure. The escalation of risk is a real thing. It's something that we are warned about, and reducing U.S. bases or personnel at non-U.S. bases such as embassies can increase risk that we don't have the quick reaction forces in the area if there is an attack in the Middle East. Maritime security as well. Maritime security, if we're bringing back some of our destroyers, some of our warships, which I think we are. I know we moved a lot from the different parts of the Middle East to the southern border, I guess for a show of stance or something like that. Maybe we're going to start detaining illegal immigrants on ships. I'm not really sure the purpose of that, but reduced maritime stuff is a concern for us as well. So what does it mean for civilians and your preparedness? We're civilians, right? I'm assuming most of us watching here are no longer active duty. So we have control over what we can do for preparedness. If you are active duty, the Marine Corps, Army, Air Force, Guardians, Coast Guard, whatever, they tell you what the hell you're going to be doing, right? For us here, we just have to be more vigilant thinking about things that you could do to prepare yourself. Various goods, energy, food, all that type of stuff that you can stockpile, because we just don't know what this could mean when it comes to our grid, when it comes to the loved ones having to go fight, etc. If you are a loved one that's still in the area, you're in Kuwait as a family member, you are in Bahrain, you're in Saudi Arabia, you're in Jordan, maybe you should think about leaving the area if you are authorized to do so. If the active duty member has to stay there, maybe you should go. I know you may be worried about job security. If you're a government employee, you have a job out there. Maybe you're worried about travel advisories. We just saw literally an aircraft crash, Air India aircraft crash, and maybe you don't want to take flights right now. I'm thinking about maintaining our resources globally by moving our personnel when the government tells you should probably kick rocks and get out of an area. If you're non-essential, you should probably do that. Now, when it comes to economic impacts beyond oil prices, which have already gone up 4%, it could impact things that you need in your home. A regional conflict can have a downturn for the financial market, job security, anything that needs to go through the Suez Canal, anything that needs to go through that region to get here, it can increase prices. So if you're thinking about things that you get through, I don't know what the hell comes from that region to here, but if you know that's a thing that you need, think about getting those things now. Think about maybe even increasing the fuel use that you need now, stockpiling now if the oil prices are going to continue to go up. I'm less concerned about direct military confrontation for we civilians. You know, if you are draft age, okay, whatever. I'm not trying to stoke the worries about that. I don't think that's something that us civilians need to worry about, as in like we're going to have to go over there and participate in kinetic action. I am more worried about regional proxy wars, because a proxy war where it's in Yemen or it's in, you know, some other country that ends in stan, not just Afghanistan, but another country ending in stan, it could slowly make its way to the U.S. in the form of lone wolves. But I am more worried about cyber attacks. Iran does have cyber capabilities. I know we shit on Iran and Tehran and all that other type of stuff. They do have cyber capabilities. And I'm also worried about terrorism. Staying vigilant, ensuring you do stuff like today's video sponsor, Aura, and you're thinking about protecting yourself with using them to help shield your identity, ensuring that your stuff is not out there on the dark web. I use Aura on all my computers, all my cell phones, not just for their VPN services, but they also will go take a look and see if they see my name or social security number, any of my 5 kids' names or social security numbers on the dark web and leaving ourselves open for some type of cyber issue, stuff being sold on the dark web, stuff being given to these companies, and they're constantly bombarding you. They will reach out to those companies and request that you be removed from those lists. And they'll check on that more often than you think about doing it to remove yourself from those lists as well. You want to try to protect your personal devices from viruses and attacks. I use OR for that type of stuff. So I'm a big fan of them. I think you would be too. Use the QR code on the screen or the link down below. Check out OR, see if that's something that you want to get into, and think about protecting yourself in these digital streets. Because in the real streets, terrorism and cybersecurity is something that you have to take on your own when it comes to preparedness, whether that's supporting your Second Amendment, fortifying your house, trying to reduce the where people know for location wise, not putting yourself in protest areas, large public gatherings, etc., etc. And think about operation security when it comes to your house. We have OPSEC for ourselves, not just for people that are in the government. So I see the reduction of U.S. personnel as an issue. I'm taking precautionary measures for my family, whether digital or physical, and I see these as heightened risk. Takes me back to the days of being active duty, but back then they told me what to do. Now I tell myself what to do. Comment down below, what do you think about the pullout of personnel in the region? Is that something you're concerned with, you to give 0 Fs about? I would love to know what your comments down below. If this is your first time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.